My name is Dean Serwin. I'm the chair of the BHBA's wellness section. As many of you may know, when we do our MCLE each every 3 years, there's those certain mandatory sections that you have to cover, one of which is competency. Wellness now qualifies for one of the 2 hours of competency. So you're getting that mandatory requirement out of the way here. As I mentioned, this is a webinar. It qualifies for MCLE. That's one of those pesky little things that we get to do, but it keeps us sharp. And the thing I love about the BHBA is that we offer a lot of these programs, usually at least one a day, sometimes two or three of them. We actually have 4 slots per day available. And we do a lot of really great programs. They're timely, up to the moment. If there's a new case, a new decision in a government or other type of administrative rule that comes down, we're going to usually have a program on it with experts in that field pretty swiftly. Sometimes within the week it happens. So they're really useful, more than just to get those mandatory hours out of the way, but to actually keep fresh and learn more about various subjects. I do them all the time just to learn about things that I feel I should at least have that touch too, so I can better understand what I do and better serve my clients. Anyway, with that, I'm delighted to introduce our speaker, Brandy Osborne. This is actually the second of 3 programs that Brandy's doing. BHBA has a BHBA on demand. You can go and watch all the webinars if you miss one. And I encourage you to go back and watch the first one on breath. And also to sign up to get automatic notices about the upcoming wellness programs, including the third one, which will take place in a few weeks in mid-August. This course, again, is taught by Brandy Osborne. It's Introductions for the Elemental Lawyer, Freedom Quest, Emotional Mastery. Brandy is a holistic human performance coach, registered massage therapist, and founder of the Elemental Being and the Elemental Athlete. For nearly 2 decades, she has guided elite performers, including Canadian hockey athletes, NHL players, 5 of whom are Stanley Cup winners, and Cirque du Soleil artists toward optimized performance and deep fulfillment using evidence-based, results-focused tools. And as Brandy and I were discussing when we were setting these programs up, if you replace the word athlete with lawyer, you're basically dealing with the same kind of stresses and issues. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Brandy. I'll stick around off camera and assist with questions. There'll be time at the end for questions as well.
Thank you so much, Dean, for the introduction. And for those that have returned and those that are new to me, I really have a deep passion to share these tools and strategies that have helped not only me, but are helping many that really want to be the ones at the steering wheel of their life and to really come into new strategies and tools. I think that the human body is the most important vehicle to really understand and to know. And we tend to sometimes know more about the vehicle we drive or even our computers or our phones than we do about our own software that's within our own bodies. So this is, a deep-rooted passion of mine. And something today came up for me was I feel like this is for sure in the lawyer's world and in the human world in general, is everyone wants kind of a set of rules to understand, to meet in a way. And I think that's the contracts that when you're actually working in your field, where when you know the rules, you know the contract that's placed out, you know what's been agreed upon, it's then easier to show up and to perform at that level, the more knowledgeable we are on them. But I guess that the challenge or the opportunity here when it comes to emotional mastery is you get to create your own rules, your own contract, and to really understand what's important for you in how you show up, whether that is at home, whether that is at work, in all different realms of your life. We have all these different arenas that we're all working in, and to be a lawyer in the first place, you have to have a very elite performance mentality and really care a lot about your life to really get to where you're at right now. So I trust that this journey today is really going to stretch your minds and also just give you some tools and strategies to really meet your emotions and to come around with, it's like that continual rewriting of the contract that you have with your emotions and what they mean and how to use them and leverage them. Because it's a saying, a mentor of mine once said, does stress use you or do you use stress? And we can say that with, does anger use you or do you use anger? So it's this realm of just really knowing that nothing is good or bad. It's just a matter of who has the wheel and who is making the decisions here, and what can we control and what can we not control. So let's dive into it, and it'll be interesting, everyone's response. I'll look at the chat there. Okay. So let me start this. All right. So this is all about choosing the emotion that serves you on purpose. Okay. And for those of you again that are returning, you already own the instrument. In webinar 1, you taught, or you learned, I taught you about the gear system of the breath and how to use the breath as an engine and really understand it and start to leverage it. And today, that's essentially the foundation behind now emotional mastery, which is going to teach you how to change your state on purpose. So both of them are really working together to tune the instrument and to tune how you're planning on showing up for your life. Okay. So this is how the hour is going to go. The emotional mastery comes down to one practice, and I call it I'm powerful. And I really feel during this session, you're really going to understand the power of your mind, and how it really is the one in a lot of cases that is creating the emotion that is driving you. So it moves in 3 steps, and we're going to unpack this throughout the hour. Is 1, accepting it, so naming what you are feeling. And again, like I said, we're going to unpack that. It's about turning towards what you're feeling and naming it without judgment. And we're going to bring back online and speak to the harmony eye position and what your eyes are doing and how they matter, how they're the gateway to your nervous system. Your nervous system is your emotional regulation. It's what's really determining how you're feeling and how you're showing up. So essentially, first we accept it, we turn towards it, and we don't have a story around why we're feeling it. It's just a matter of, I'm feeling this emotion. And the sooner we get there, the sooner you start to use that emotion. And then step 2 is choosing what emotion you're going to bring to the table to really relate to the initial emotion that came up. So it might be frustration or anger that came up. And we're going to go through these practices, and it's like, okay, I feel frustrated or angry. And then the choice is, I'm going to actually turn towards those emotions with curiosity, with a calm state. I'm going to come into this state where I can actually relate to it, where I'm not agitated by the emotions that I'm feeling. And then the embodiment is really choosing that state. So if we choose to be curious, we're now coming into using these levers that I'm going to teach you that I have learned throughout my life with the body, the focus, and the language, and these different strategies of breath practice that are going to really help you show up and be the one that is steering the ship, which is really the only one you can control is you. So just to bring in a scenario, like it might be just an ordinary Tuesday for you, and perhaps the opposing counsel said something in a deposition that landed as a jab, a little, or it felt really personal, or maybe an email arrived near the end of the day and the tone of it felt sharp and the demand was unreasonable. So you might have felt this heat kind of climb up in your chest. You might have felt your jaw clench. And there might be a story that's already starting to develop around this person, depending on your experience with them. And essentially, yeah, it's just this essence of who does this person think they are might be coming up, where a lot of people do have these demands that maybe are unreasonable. But in that moment, what this whole hour is going to be teaching you is you cannot always choose what happens, but you can choose the emotion you meet it with. And if in that moment you can meet it with a calm state, a curious state, just a present state where you're not taking things personal, you might actually respond to that a lot more just in a helpful way, right? So we're coming into this reframe. So I gave you kind of a scenario of what you might experience or what you may have experienced many times in your life. But there's this reframe around it, right? And it's most of us were taught that emotions happen to us. Someone made us angry. Yeah, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be frustrated or I wouldn't have been aggressive or whatever it is. But it's just this like feeling like we're on the receiving end of the emotions. But the whole turn, this whole hour is that every state you feel, you build. And I always say, like, I am the problem and I'm also the solution. And when it comes to feelings and emotions, it's just knowing that you're the one that is creating it because there's a story around what just happened and what it means for you. And there's a posture around it and there's language connected to it. So if that is the truth, then emotional mastery is a choice, not a reaction. Okay. And what I'll share is that, like I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm a very, like I care a lot. I'm a very sensitive, I would say performer. Like I really perform in my career. I'm performing right now. I believe I am. And just really showing up for this. Many things happened prior to this that I had to continually, there's this reframing and this conscious choice to show up in a state that is calm, clear, and connected. That's the one that I'm always usually looking to achieve when it comes to these kind of things. So just looking at these two, essentially those that came back, those that were here last year or last webinar, you learned about the engine, you learned about how to generate your energy. So in webinar 1, you learned that the breath rate is a dial. So the lower the dial, you generate energy. The lower the dial was a 1 second in, 1 second out, 2 second in, 2 second out. So it's a circular breathing that's a little bit shorter. And then when you come into a 4 in, 4 out, or 5 in, 5 out on a second realm, and this is circular, this isn't box breathing. That was brought up a question last time. It's a circular breathing. You learned how to generate energy and how to change the energy you feel on demand, okay? And then this time we're coming into emotional mastery, where you get to choose your state. So in this hour, you're still utilizing your breath, you're still utilizing your vision. And this one is about how are you feeling in that moment and how do you need to feel in order to really rise in for the highest outcome of what you're experiencing. So you'll learn to change which emotion you bring on purpose to which experience that you're currently having or a different arena. So it's just another layer built on top of the first, okay? So one of the foundations that's extremely important in both of the webinars that I've taught you if all you took was to, when you start to get stressed or you start to feel frazzled or you start to feel like you're off your center, you're not calm, present, connected, one of the most powerful things that you can do is just close the eyes for a moment. And we're not going to do that in the middle of driving. We're not going to do that in a situation where someone is talking to us, not in all of them. But sometimes there is that moment prior to a call, prior to an experience where we can just close our eyes down. The eyes are the gateway to the nervous system. The moment your eyes are open, you're receiving, like you're actually taking up 70% of your brain just on it, picking up all the information of what you're seeing and what it means, okay? So there's this interesting thing that happens when you close the eyes down, but your eyes are still aware. And this is the most powerful way. Sometimes we need to stop the mind from spinning. We need to stop the mind from spinning stories around why this happened, what was good, what was not good. And that's where we start to feed off of these stories in our mind, whether we're conscious of them or not. But what you'll notice in those moments are the eyes start to shift. So the eyes aren't, and you'll see this if you're having a conversation with someone and they're uncomfortable, it'll be very hard for them to hold a steady eye contact with you. They'll usually be looking up and looking away. And that's someone that is really experiencing a lot of feelings, but doesn't quite know how to manage them, okay? So how do we manage them? So they're not managing us. We want to be managing our emotions and not have our emotions managing us. So you would close your eyes down. And the power play move is to roll the eyes up and in towards the pineal gland, so just the center of the forehead. You can't really do it wrong, but it can be more precise over time. But when you do that, you bring all your awareness to the frontal lobe of your brain. When you're in the frontal lobe of your brain, you're no longer able to tell stories. You're just in the moment. So you're looking up and in, and you're actually seeing something. So just everyone now, as I'm going to continue to teach this, but just have a moment if you can to close your eyes down, and you'll notice right away there's this relaxation that happens. And if you look up and in, you might notice another level of relaxation or a feeling of being grounded. The other way would be to keep the eyes closed, but you're looking through the eyelids. Okay, so if you can't close your eyes, so for the nature of this right now, just keep your eyes closed right now and just play around with that, rolling the eyes up and in, deepen the breath in and out, and just notice if it changes how you feel. Okay, and then bring the eyes back to neutral, looking through the eyelids, see if that changes how you feel. So your eyes aren't just placed there, you are seeing something. And then when you're ready, just slowly open the eyes. And if this isn't the case, you're not able to close the eyes down and you're in a challenging situation, you would just find your eyes resting on something. So if we were in the same room having a conversation, you might actually just look at my earring on the right, or you might just choose to look at my left eye or my right eye. So the person that's in front of you won't notice that you've done that, but you'll notice there's this regulation that's happening on an endocrine level, on a hormonal level. So you soften and you steady the gaze, and this starts to shift your hormones, down regulates the state, and you become more and more and more present, okay? So here's how any state is built. I learned this emotional triad through my Master University with Tony Robbins. So I've kind of built on top of what he has taught, but essentially there's this emotional triad that builds our state. So just crediting Tony Robbins for being the first one to actually start the conversation, and maybe he actually got it from someone else. But essentially, any emotion you feel is made of three things working together: your body, so your posture, your breath, your chemistry, is the fastest lever to change any emotion. And it's emotion, it's the saying that emotion is created by motion. So the moment, you could probably all remember different states where you were angry, and maybe you might even have noticed the tension rising up in your spine and your body and your hands. So you'll first feel this energy happening in the body. And then the next one is what we focus on. So what are we paying attention to? And what is the meaning we're giving, what we're hearing? So because what you focus on, where your focus goes, your energy flows. So if we feel like someone is dissing us versus challenging us, if they're being disrespectful or they're being like curious. So our story around what we're hearing and what it means and the tone and all of that is really starting to now generate an emotion as well. And then the next one is the language. So the words that you use to choose around, like I'm feeling really disrespected right now, I'm feeling frustrated, whatever it is, that language that is starting to build either indoors where we're just aware of it or it's coming out, that is dictating our emotion as well. So we can take ourselves into any state. And you see actors do it all the time on different movie shows. Like they're literally taking themselves into that scene. And what you're seeing are real tears because they're taking their mind into this really, really devastating scenario so that they can be in that emotional state and their body just starts to take over. Or they put their body in that state and then they bring their mind there. So it's all about our physiology, our focus, and our language, okay? So when you start to spiral, what happens is all three of these things start to turn against you at once. But it's just really knowing that you can also turn them right around and come out of that state all in a moment. If you're conscious of it and you have these tools and you understand how the body, the vehicle that you're in works, like the rules around it. Okay, we'll break that down further as we go. So what I would love for everyone to do, I'm going to take you into this. I've run this practice so many times and I'm not going to tell you what you're going to feel, but I truly believe you will feel a realization of the power of your mind and what you're focusing on and your body language. So what I would love for you to do is you can stay seated or you can stand up. So usually if I was in person and you actually hired me to come in to work with your staff and your team, then I would have you standing up while you're doing this. So it's really up to you what you're going to be doing. You will have your eyes closed. That's the most helpful. If that doesn't feel good for you, then you would just soften the eyes down, okay? So just close the eyes down and put yourself in a nice relaxed posture and just start breathing. So you don't need to change your breath right now. You're just aware of your inhaling, your exhaling. Maybe you let some sighs come out. Maybe you let some yawns come out. And you're just aware of how you're feeling right now. Okay. So we're going to be going from state to state, okay? Meaning different emotional states. So what I would love for you to do is we're just going to go into a super happy moment, a moment where you felt really connected, you felt very loved. So your eyes are closed, maybe they're rolled up and in, your breath is coming in and out, and you're just remembering this time where you just felt so much peace. You felt so much connection. You felt maybe hope, joy, bliss, healthy, whole, free. So just whatever you're looking at, just start to focus on it more. Were you sitting looking out over an ocean and there was a sunset? Were you by yourself? Was someone with you? Was your dog or an animal, a fur baby with you? Like, where were you? And you're just looking out and you're just seeing all that you're seeing in that moment. And just start breathing into it and really, really, really see it. And just really start being aware of your posture. Maybe you're noticing your jaw is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed, your chest is open. Just keep taking yourself there. What do you see? What's in the air? What are you smelling? And what are you focusing on in that moment? Are you just feeling like, I feel so grateful right now? I feel in love. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. Like, what are you thinking right then in that moment? What language are you using? So just come into it more and more and more, keeping the eyes closed. Just be aware of your facial expression, where your hands are. And just on the next breath in, just hold that breath in at the top and just really feel how you feel in your body. Do you feel calm? Do you feel happy? Do you feel at peace? Grateful? Playful? And just when you exhale, hold it out at the bottom. And just do one more breath where you hold it in at the top. And in essence, it's just remove that vision from your mind, from your body. And just take a couple circular breaths in. It doesn't matter how long, but just breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to take yourself to a moment that was really hard for you, very challenging. There's no need to take yourself somewhere that you can't actually get out of. But just think of a time where you felt really frustrated, where you felt disrespected, maybe where you felt ashamed or rejected, and just take yourself there. And I want you to really play along, like let your body start to do what it did in that moment. Just keep thinking about and seeing in your vision with your eyes up and in, and you're just breathing and you're just remembering when you felt upset, sad, disrespected, frustrated, angry, where you didn't feel like you were in control, where you didn't really know how to navigate the situation, and just really take your body, just really notice, are your shoulders up and in? Is your breath shorter? Do you have more tension through your neck, through your jaw? What's happening at your feet, at your wrists? Just really take yourself there. We're just doing this storytelling game. Just what were you thinking? That person disrespected me. They don't like me. They've never liked me. They always do this. What language are you using? Or this always happens to me. What are you focusing on? What is your language? And what's happening within your body? So just take yourself there a little bit more and really let your body take you on that journey. Let it match what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're focusing on. So just really feeling what you're feeling in that moment. And then all in the next breath in, I want you to straighten up your spine, open your shoulders, hold your breath in at the top. Maybe breathe in a second time. Exhale, let it go. Breathe in one more time, all the way to the top. Hold it in, breathe in one more time. Let it go. Now take your mind, all in a moment, you'll see the power of the mind. Take your mind back to the original vision that you had of that moment where you felt blissful, where you felt connected, you felt loved, you felt free, you felt whole, you felt in control, you felt gratitude. What were you seeing? What were you feeling? Let your body unwind and let it come into representing how you felt in that moment. What were you focusing on? What language were you using? Take yourself there, okay? Keep taking yourself there. Notice, did your jaw relax? Did your neck relax? Did your breathing deepen? Are you breathing into your belly now? Do you feel more relaxed through your spine? Just doing that a little bit more. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you focusing on? And just inhaling and exhaling. And just on the next breath in, hold that breath in at the top. Stay tall through your spine. When you exhale, don't lose height in your spine and just let that breath go. And then just slowly bring yourself back into the room, opening your eyes and just coming into the room here. And just really connect with that breath, really connect with that experience. And yes, we'll have time in the end to really feel how that felt for you. And Dean, if you ever feel like you need to pop in and have a conversation to share anything, feel free to do so. Okay. I just usually in person, I'd go around the room and people would really express how they felt and how they felt different, and just the power of how quickly they could take themselves from one state to another. Although,
I'm happy to interject since you asked for it. I really did, even before you mentioned it, I recognized that my neck and my shoulders had almost fused when I went to the unhappy place. And that's when I realized, oh yeah, my breathing is very shallow all of a sudden. And it was all the harbingers of tension
mhm.
suddenly appeared. And they did relax when I went back to the happier place.
They did relax or they didn't?
They did when I went
Okay.
not as complete as they had been. There was some residual tension from the challenging one.
Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Because sometimes I'm like, well, I feel it and everyone else in the past has felt it, but do you feel it? Um, yeah, because there's not one way for anything. Okay. So that's just like a power play move for you to actually, because emotional mastery is to literally know if you say wanted to feel awake, aware, ready. When we go through these practices, you can take yourself back to a time where you felt awake, aware, and ready, and you felt like calm and connected, but you were like anticipating, like you were in this state. But we can take ourselves back to a time because there's all these times, but then we can put ourselves into that state for an upcoming deposition or call or day. So it's just knowing that you have the power of doing that. And Dean, just with what you're sharing, like I'll move on. I know we've got a time limit here. But it's just if in that moment, like the real power play move is here, you took yourself to that moment and all of a sudden your neck got rigid, you felt all this tension. The quickest way out of that is to just realize like, oh wow, I'm really tensing my jaw right now. And maybe you're in the heat of the moment and you're trying to actually regulate your facial expression muscles because that person is right in front of you, right? And you're feeling all of that, but chances are they might not even be seeing it, but you're feeling it. But the power play move is you're aware of it, and all of a sudden you just maybe even let a tiny smile come over the face, and you just like shift your body a little bit. And just in shifting, creating that motion creates emotion. Just in changing those two things, you would right away feel a little bit more calm and a little bit more resourceful. Um, but it's just like some little things, and this is what, an NHL player that I work with that's in the Stanley Cup final, like the first thing that you always change, the first lever is the body and the position that it's in. And right away that shifts your energy, your emotions, and your chemistry. So I want to introduce to you all, oopsies. So this is a really powerful tool that I used to use someone else's and then I created this one myself, but it's the emotional mastery compass. And I'm going to bring it into like a bigger visual for you all. But it's essentially just looking at it from this view is the emotional mastery compass is whatever emotion you're in is the direction you're going. So the emotion that you're feeling, certainly if that is what is steering your vehicle versus like you could feel frustrated, but actually calm, clear, connected is steering the wheel. But that feeling is still there, but it's kind of fuel that's moving you in the direction. But you don't want frustration having the wheel. You want a state of like calmness or curiosity having the wheel. So you'll see around that wheel of emotion, there's all those different angles. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse right now, but essentially, if you handle a situation with curiosity, that's certainly going to yield a different result than if you handled it with frustration. So it really is coming into understanding these different emotions and the different language behind them. So, and then your specificity on what you're feeling. So it has on here, there's a world of a difference between disappointed and betrayed, between anxious and overwhelmed, or anxious and excited. So the more precisely you name it, and this isn't even anything you need to share with anyone, it's just a matter of you coming into what are you feeling? You're not embodying that state. It's I feel this way, not I am this way. Okay. So essentially, the more you understand what you're feeling and you start to develop your language around your emotions, the more you're able to master them. Okay. It literally changes how you use your brain. So you might slowly change your language around this. So I'm just going to stop sharing that. I'm going to bring this up. Okay. So you can see this one now. I just blew it up, but one of the things that you can say it's working against us, but essentially you would look at this and this is common amongst all psychologists, all counselors, but you'll see there's actually about 3/4 of this wheel are all emotions that maybe we don't want to feel. Sad, disgusted, angry, fearful, bad. So in the English dictionary, there's a good 80% of the words that actually have a negative connotation to it versus positive. So we really have to work hard to rewrite our language and to be aware of what we're using. But the more we start to develop our language around what we are feeling, and we start to really be able to meet it and accept it and just hold space for it. But it's about turning towards it. So one that I would love to, so say we used surprised here. So you'll see with this emotional wheel, you're all going to get a playbook where you'll have this, but it's probably the thing I would spend the most time to really start to understand, like, what are your dominant emotions that you're feeling all day? And which emotions do you feel the most tension in your shoulders and in your back and in your neck? And what emotion could change it, or what emotion do you want to meet with it? But surprise, so originally you might, everyone knows the look of surprise on someone's face, unless you're a very trained professional and you're actually in a litigation or a trial where you've trained yourself to not show everyone that you're surprised at what was just said. But essentially, underneath that, there's this other layer where maybe you might also say, I'm excited, amazed, confused, startled. And then deeper beneath that would be, I felt shocked, dismayed, disillusioned, perplexed, astonished, in awe, eager, energetic. So you can see how all those different words are going to meet a situation very differently. If you actually spend more time with this and you start to, it's like, no, I wasn't surprised. I was actually confused. Like I was astonished as to why they said that in that moment. And, like you just unpack it that little bit more. This webinar isn't really about like unpacking it, but it's getting you to know how to use this wheel of emotion to start to develop your language around the emotions that you're feeling and the emotions that you're going to meet it with, okay? So some of us might say, oh, how was today? Busy. How did you how did you feel today? I feel stressed. I feel tired. I feel bored. I feel rushed. I feel sleepy, unfocused. But most of us would say, we wouldn't say I feel bad. We would say I feel busy. But really, if you unpack that word, it has a very negative connotation to it because it's actually you're indifferent. You've been focusing on many tasks. You're feeling also pressured, rushed, out of control, sleepy, unfocused. But we use busy all the time as this loose word to express how we're feeling. But really, it's kind of running. It's the one with the hands on the wheel that we don't want to have the hands on the wheel. So it's just understanding slowly what are your rules to your game and what are helpful emotions and what are not. So we're going to come back to, so you guys will all have access to that wheel of emotion, but it's a very, very powerful Like it's really a compass, I call it, because it really is dictating the outcome that you're going to receive from your day. If all day what the hands that are on the wheel are busy versus the one that is centered or curious, then you're going to have a very different approach to your day, and certainly your nervous system and your physical tension is going to look different at the end of the day. So I'm powerful is just coming back to exactly what Dean shared and what whoever is on this webinar right now and who's going to be listening to it. Your mind is extremely powerful, and what you choose to focus on and how you hold your body, your posture, and the language that you're using. So we're just going to come into this strategy to come into a practice around this, okay? So it takes the three levers on purpose. So really the moves are accept, choose, and then embody. So we're going to run through these three together, okay? So the accept part, accept what is here, name it without judgment, it loosens its grip. So essentially, just kind of take yourself back to, yeah, I think we take ourselves back to closing our eyes. And we're just going to come through this scenario, okay, where you're taking yourself back to a time that you've already experienced. Maybe you learned something there, maybe there's more to learn, but I want you to really understand the practice here. So close your eyes, maybe the eyes are up and in or straightforward, and just take yourself back to that moment and where you were feeling frustrated, agitated, angry, whatever you were feeling, okay? So just take yourself back to that moment, close your eyes, and just feel what you're feeling in your body. And I want you to just start to think about, what am I really feeling? Was I feeling inadequate? Was I feeling overwhelmed? Was I feeling rejected, persecuted, exposed? Was I feeling guilty, empty, powerless? Isolated, abandoned, disappointed? Like, what were you really feeling in that moment? And the key is you're just saying, I actually felt, maybe in this scenario, I felt let down. I felt betrayed. And we're not saying someone did that to us. We're just literally naming what we felt. This is what I felt. So just coming into to breathing in and breathing out, and coming into what you're feeling. And now I'm going to guide you through this breath practice that really helps to start to come into the acceptance phase. And it's just 2 quick inhales through the nose and a sigh. You're just going to do 5 of these. So come into however you're feeling in that moment, the words that you used to describe how you're feeling, and just breathe in the nose twice quick and out with a sigh. In, out with a sigh. In, out with a sigh. So you're just coming into 2 quick breaths in, out with a sigh, while you're just literally accepting what you're feeling, okay? So now I want you to come into a nice full breath in and just hold that breath in at the top. And just start to consider, as you're turning towards these emotions that you're legitimately feeling, what other emotion would actually really serve you in that moment? Would curiosity serve you? Would discernment serve you? Would be open, to be open, serve you? To be patient, to be kind? What would serve you in that moment as you're working with this other emotion? Like, what emotion is going to actually be on the wheel? So now, as you're feeling into that, I want you to come into this other breath practice, which is I'm present. It looks very much like box breathing. You're just going to breathe in, your eyes are closed, your eyes are up and in, and you're just going to pause at the top as long as you want, pause at the bottom as long as you want, and just come into really embodying and starting to really feel like, what energy has the wheel? What emotion has the wheel? curious, patient, kindness, compassion, empathy, that maybe you don't know the whole situation, or it's empathy for yourself. So just keep coming into that. You breathe in, you hold, you breathe out, you hold. You breathe in, you hold, you breathe out, you hold. So now what you're going to be doing is you're embodying the state that you want to actually have the hands on the wheel. Like that's actually dictating where this conversation is going to go, even if it's just with yourself. You're calm, you're clear, you're patient, you're kind, whatever emotion it is. So now what I want you to do is we're going to remove the pause at the top and the pause at the bottom. And you're just going to come into, you'll guide yourself a 4-second in breath and a 4-second out breath. You've removed the pause. You're now embodying it. It's like a train. It's like you're starting to move that energy in a circular way. So you're really starting to tap into that energy. And now I want you to just be in that energy, whatever it is. And now I want you to look at that situation and remember everything that happened. Remember what you were seeing, what you were feeling. But I want you to keep on the wheel the emotion that you want to meet that situation with. It is the one that is regulating your posture. It's the one that is regulating what you're focusing on. It's the one regulating what your language is going to be. Or maybe it's, I'm confused at what you're saying. Can you help me understand? But you're able to say it because the tone and the speed and how you're running your vehicle and how you're steering your vehicle or this conversation is in a total different state. So just keeping that circular breath, 4 in, 4 out, and really just start to just kind of visualize how that conversation would go. Is the outcome going to change now that you're deciding what emotion is guiding you, is steering the conversation, the email, whatever it is. So it's the same moment, but what you're noticing is this is a different version of you that's met that situation. So I'm going to get you to, when you're ready, maybe you do a pause at the top, pause at the bottom, and you just slowly open the eyes up and you just slowly come into the room. So just find your breath in, your breath out, but essentially there's 2 ways to utilize this I'm powerful, okay? And it all depends on what's happening that day or the next day and what it really means to you. It depends on your knowledge of, like they say, leaders anticipate, losers react. I don't love that saying, but really when you're able to like anticipate what tomorrow's day or it's the morning, and you're able to anticipate the day because you know who you're meeting up with, you know the challenges, you know how you feel right now, and you're able to start to anticipate what energy, what emotion do you need on the wheel for your day? Like what is going to direct your energy? And depending on the arena, one might ask you to be very awake, very direct, very clear, very honest. And another one might ask you to be very kind, very empathetic, be a very good listener. So there's these different scenarios that actually need a different version of you, a different emotional state of you that has their hands on the wheel. But you get to determine that. So the 2 ways in, the first one is called rewards in advance. So this is you choosing the state that you want to be in. You've rehearsed before the moment. So when we do this, So this is done the morning of a hard hearing, the hour before a difficult call, even 5 minutes in the car before you walk home or walk into the doorway of your home. But you're just honestly looking at what is coming and you're deciding in advance what emotion is going to be on the wheel of that vehicle. Okay. And the beautiful analogy that you learned in the first one with the breath being the engine, if it's a one in, one out, like that's you're really moving fast. You're bringing a lot of energy. When you come into a 3 in, 3 out, 4 in, 4 out, 5 in, 5 out, which is literally the seconds when you slow it down, the engine, what you have on the throttle, and then now you're on the steering wheel, like you really start to dictate your life a lot. You're still not really in control of what happens, but you're in control of how you meet what happens. But the key is that you're in rehearsal. You're in that moment. So what I would love you to do is just think of like one thing. Um, Maybe we just bring it out of being a lawyer and we just bring it coming back home to those that you love. And it's the end of your day and you just give yourself a couple minutes. Maybe you drive home, maybe you stop at a park that's close to your house and you just have a moment where you just clear your energy and you want to come into the state of how am I going to walk in that door tonight for my wife or lunch with my friend or dinner with my friends or whatever it is. So just close the eyes again. Maybe your hands are on your body. And you're just starting to think in advance of like the energy that you want to bring to this experience and like what's the highest outcome? And I want you to, while you're feeling and envisioning the emotion that you want to feel, maybe it's playful, maybe it's curious, maybe it's adventurous. I want you to use that breath sequence of I'm present, where it's a box breathing breath. So just as you're choosing and you're coming into clarity of like, what's the highest outcome? Everyone feels seen, heard, they feel loved, they feel that I'm present, they feel that I'm connected to them. Like maybe that's the highest outcome is that's what they feel, but you also feel that, okay? So while you're taking yourself there, your eyes are up and in, you're just breathing in and you're pausing at the top. You breathe out, you pause out at the bottom. You breathe in, you pause in at the top. You breathe out, you pause out at the bottom. So just keep doing this. I'm present where there's a pause at the top, pause at the bottom. And just start to take your body into the shape that matches the emotion that you want to arrive home with or arrive at that dinner with. Maybe it's playful, maybe it's energetic, maybe it's peaceful. And just take your body there and take your mind there. What are you focusing on? Everything is perfect. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. And just notice if maybe your breath rate changes. You still pause at the top, you still pause at the bottom, but you're essentially taking yourself to this a vision of what the highest outcome is. You're rehearsing. You're rehearsing how you're going to show up because you don't know what the room holds for you. And then slowly you remove that pause at the top, that pause out, and you just start coming into that 4 in, 4 out. There's no pause. And you really just start to come into, so maybe it's I'm loving, I'm blessed, I'm grateful. And you're just coming into that statement, and that's taking you there. And you're starting to embody it more. You're breathing into it more. And then just when you're ready, you'll pause at the top, you'll pause at the bottom, and then you'd slowly open your eyes, and then you would then drive home or drive to where you're going. But now you're in that state, so you're choosing that state. So this could be you choosing it before the start of the day, before a meeting. It doesn't take long. You just know what energy, what is the highest outcome? How do I want to feel and how do I want them to feel after this? And then you come into the embodiment of that. You use I'm present where you hold in at the top, hold out at the bottom, and you start to press record on what it is, what's the highest outcome, that feeling. And then the embodiment, you bring that emotion into life by doing that circular breath, 4 in, 4 out. So the next one is the storm. So this is in the heat of the moment that you didn't get to rehearse. So this is what happens. So the other one is really the pre-mastery, the pre-practice around how am I going to show up. And then there's this moment where you just can't pre-plan on what's going to happen and how you're going to respond in that moment. So perhaps the opposing counsel says something that lands as a jab, feels a little personal, built to knock you off your center. So that was just an example that I came up with, or that email that arrives at the end of the day that's sharp and unreasonable. So it's just coming into that. So there's this storm that just happens, and maybe you're hungry, maybe you're already running late. So there's all of this that's already starting. So your chemistry is already off. Maybe you already have a little bit of tension, and then now this happens. And maybe it's one of those days where one thing happened after another. But because you've been practicing this in the beginning of the day, you started a practice when you first woke up in the morning, and you practice being calm, clear, centered, and you practice that feeling, you embodied it, you know what it feels like, you know how your posture is. So in that storm, you just take yourself right to the state that you wanted to be in, okay? But it's all the 3 levers that you're using, but you're using them consciously. You're noticing that they're starting to turn against you, and it's just like, no, 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 not today. And you take in that deep breath, you take in those 2 quick sips, or those 2 quick where it's and you're noticing, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling disrespected, whatever it is. And it's just, I'm feeling, you are not that person. You're not disrespected. No one disrespected you. You felt disrespected. So you always keep your power because you're feeling an emotion connected to something. And then all in that moment, you then decide, you come into those 2 quick breaths in and a sigh. You come into acceptance of what you're feeling. And then right away, you remind yourself that no, today my goal is to be calm, clear, connected. And you start to put your posture in that position. You put your jaw in that position. You come into I am present with a breath hold in, a breath hold out. And you start to just make sure that calm, clear, connected has the wheel. And then slowly you come into the 4 in, 4 out. And now you're the one driving again. And now the email's looking a little bit different in the response. So the science in the playbook, you're going to be able to actually navigate through all this. Everything has some science behind it, but the emotional triad, it's a frame that Tony Robbins, like he names it, but it comes from this is what happens with everyone. Even in the primal world, you'll see an animal that is angry right away. We in the human world have trained ourselves to still have a smile while being angry underneath. So we have to be very emotionally savvy in that moment and accepting what we're feeling. And just the effect of labeling it, the more precise your word, the more you actually decrease the reactivity in your brain, and you start to come into this calm state. To name it is to tame it. And the richer your emotional vocabulary, the better it is for you and for everyone. Again, just because you say I feel frustrated doesn't mean you're a bad or a good person. It just means you're just feeling that. And that just happens to be the label you gave it. On another day, you might say, I feel confused. I feel disjointed. Like you'll have your own language you're already using, but slowly you're going to change that language with that emotional compass. The physiological sigh, that deep, those 2 breaths in with the sigh, there's a lot of research around how that down regulates the system so that you can like zoom out and actually just say, I feel frustrated, but there's no story attached to it. And just knowing that the body leads. And then we're just wrapping up here. So this is just a way for you to actually visualize this on like one Tuesday, where you're learning, like I'm teaching you a process, but you can also segmentally apply any of these. So the rewards in advance, this is something how I would start my day, where I would do 2 to 3 minutes at the beginning of the day of like, how am I going to show up? I also work with a lot of clients, so I have to continually regulate what emotion I'm showing up for different clients because everyone is very different. The topics are different, and in the moment I maybe I'm not prepared of what they're going to share that day, so I need to be able to shift my state and on demand in that moment. So the next one, I'm clear. So you just want to accept that you have a tense call. And you do that I'm clear where it's the 2 breaths in and the sigh. So you do that prior to the call. Midday, I'm present. So that's just the box. It's essentially that box breathing methodology where you breathe in and you hold, you breathe out and you hold. It's just a moment to just become present with where you're at and to remind yourself of what your goals were for the day, what energy. There might be a storm that lands at 3:14 that you're going to use all that accept, choose, embody. Rewards in advance prior to going home, like that's a game changer. And I would encourage everyone to do that, even if it's just you coming home to yourself and your plants and your dinner, Like how do you want to be in that moment? What emotion do you want to feel tonight? The harmony eye position is certainly a great way to fall asleep, where you just close the eyes. So all of these are running underneath your day. So the goal is to have 30 days of practice for this. And I have on here just 7 days to feel it, 30 days to own it. Both are wins. So there's an actual dopa cord that I'll guide you through really quickly. But every practice that you now hold, if you actually did both webinars, you have the I'm powerful, accept, choose, embody, master that practice. I'm clear, the 2 nasal inhales with the long sigh. It's the fastest reset. I'm present, that's where you breathe in. And I have 5 in, hold, 5 out, hold. But how I really teach it is just breathe in however long you want to, hold in however long you want to, breathe out. It usually looks like about 5 in, hold for 5. The harmony eye position, eyes up and in, eyes straight ahead. Eyes are, you're controlling them, you're seeing something, or you just have your eyes resting on something and you calm your system. The I'm geared, the slower you breathe, up to 5 in, 5 out, the more calm, clear you are. And the faster you breathe, 1 in, 1 out, the more energy. And then I'm awake, I'm renewing are 2 different ones from webinar 1. If you haven't done that one, I recommend it. It will change your life. So we're going to go over the playbook just really quickly. I'm just going to scan through it with you. And the dopa cord. So one is the choice expanded. So those of you that like to read, I feel like you're all really fast readers, that it'll really, if you did that after taking this, you'd really, really settle into the knowledge. And then to really put that knowledge into action, which is the true success, is the dopa cord, the record of how you're doing it, how's it walking with you every day. And that's the path of embodiment where it just becomes you. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing there and I'll just guide you through the playbook just to give you a quick visual of what it looks like. Okay. So this is the playbook that you'll all get. And essentially, it's just going to talk you through all the levers, the choice that you have, the heart of it, guide you through that emotional triad. It's one of the most powerful things you can learn and you can use with intention to really change your approach to life. The harmony eye position, just so powerful. And maybe I say that about all of these, but it really has worked for me. The emotional mastery compass, like we all kind of know, we kind of have a general idea of what destination we're using, but if we don't have a compass to really get us there, and we're not certain if we're using what energy we're using, what emotion is on the wheel, it's going to really change how we're going to show up and where we're going to show up in life and how our life's going to turn out. So I'm powerful. It literally is coming into accepting, choosing, and embodying. The accepting, it's always the eyes closed if you can. Those quick 2 nasal inhales, long sigh. The choice, like what accepting what emotion you're feeling, coming into, well, what emotion do I need to meet that emotion with? What emotion is going to be on the steering wheel? And that's the I am present, just breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, embody. Once you start to know, you know exactly what emotion needs to meet this other emotion and what needs to steer this experience, then you start your 4 in, 4 out, this circular breath. And then this just guides you through, so you don't need to remember all of this. You'll use this as a reference of the process of accepting, choosing, and embodying the state that you want to be in. And then it guides you through the rewards in advance and the storm. We've all been in many, many, many storms, but you can play around with just visualizing, like, what's the worst case scenario? Take yourself there and then reverse it on yourself of like, okay, if this scenario happened, this was my old response, but what emotion am I going to meet that with? Then you have so much power, and it just speaks to you on how you're going to use this. Summarizes everything, summarizes it again, and gives you this little checklist, because if you don't actually bring it into your day, did I use I'm powerful today? Did I accept, choose, embody? Did I use all of this, and how did it work for me? Then you don't come into a decision of like, do I really want to use this or not? What are the new rules to my game? What's the new contract of how I'm going to live my life and run my daily routines? So that's the playbook. You'll have access to that. And then the last one, which won't take long here, is the dope accord. So I believe this is the most important part. If you don't do this, it just becomes shelf knowledge and you never actually execute on it. And then you never really learn how to really regulate and master your emotions. So the dope accord, it's literally a record of dopamine hits when we check boxes off. We get a lot of like serotonin, dopamine, and as adults, we need boxes to check off to really feel like we're moving in the right direction. So it's just going to guide you how to do it in the morning, throughout the day, and at night. Essentially, it guides you through all the choices that you have, the powerful, accept, choose, and embody. So there's a lot of repetition here that'll really help you learn it. But this is the day-to-day, is literally in the morning, you're going to just think about today's train and the state that you're choosing. And you're going to come into that. And if you choose, you can do the rewards in advance right in that moment, or decide how you're going to navigate through your day. Maybe you'll just decide to stay in a gear 4 throughout the day because you're going to embody calm, clear, connected all day. So this is in the evening, you're going to record, what did I use today? What was helpful? What was today's win? So I do have some people that don't like doing it in the morning. They would prefer the night before. They visualize the upcoming day and they come into choosing how they're going to meet that day and what it's going to look like. And then they like to do this part in the evening or today's win at the end of the day at work instead of at home. So this is just going to guide you through 30 days of doing that. Yeah. So there's the webinar 2, emotional mastery. It literally, like, I've been doing this for sure 15 years, where I've been like obsessed about it, working with Hockey Canada, working in the high stakes game myself. Like, I don't always I'm not always in the state prior to that call for that Stanley Cup winner where it really matters. Like, I really need to put myself into a state so I can really show up. So this is how I get myself there. And it's really helpful versus talking myself there. I put my body in that state. I put my breath in that state. I start to visualize my highest outcome of the energy I'm going to feel, the energy they're going to feel. And I really take myself there. And then that's how I, dial up the phone and call them up. So I trust this will help you all. Is there any questions, Dean? Do you have any feedback?
We had a note from someone, Christopher, who was expressing how this is a different system than anything he's seen before and really appreciated it. And I encouraged him in the answer I typed out to check out webinar 1 on breath and check out webinar 3. You want to, let's take a minute. You want to give us a quick prep on what the third in the series will be on, Brandy?
So the third one, it's really layering all that we just learned, and it's all about the art of influence, and really it's a lot of state management of what we're in right now, but it really is like understanding the emotions that another is feeling in that moment and how to meet that emotion, but how to influence that emotion, how to influence every room that you're in, whether that's walking home and you're actually calm, clear, connected because you really worked on that today. Like you, it's work. Like it's not easy. No one just gets that.
Emotional jujitsu.
But you walk home to someone that is agitated, that is frustrated, that is angry. Like, how do you stay calm, clear, connected in that moment when this person is in this state? So it's going to teach you of the art of influence and how to meet that energy, but how to really, yeah, influence it towards a direction where it's like calm, clear, helpful, useful, where you don't get agitated by their energy. So now you're starting to work with them and not to manipulate them, but to really know that it really matters in that moment if you're able to hold your position and stay grounded.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much, Brandy. Look forward to seeing everyone here again. If you enjoyed what you've seen here, if you found it useful, please share with your friends and colleagues. This will be in the BHB on demand for webinars shortly, if not later today, certainly tomorrow. The materials were in the links you received to come here. They're in the chat. The dope accord and the playbook are both part of those materials. So it's all one piece. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.